Another big pillar of his policy positions has been, of course, immigration. And we're learning just over the last few hours that President Trump plans to ratchet up some of those restrictions, calling for an additional crackdown on immigration in a pair of Truth Social posts where he writes that he would, quote, permanently pause migration from all third world countries. This comes following the shooting of two National Guard members in Washington on Wednesday. Joining us right now is Terry Haines, who heads Pangaea Policy. And Terry, I do want to start with some of the president's comments and rhetoric over the last couple of days on the heels of what we should point out is a very tragic shooting that we saw on Wednesday of those two National Guard members. Two National Guard members sent there effectively by the president from West Virginia, or at least on his orders. And now the fallout from this shooting, which seems to involve a suspect with ties to Afghanistan and, quite frankly, ties to the U.S. government as well. What does an immigration crackdown, if at all, accomplish?
Well, I think what's happening here, Romaine, is the president, as he normally does, is taking an immediate position that's very action-oriented and kind of very clean and pure, and doesn't get down into the second and third order issues that involve implementation or anything else. What I found in the middle of the rhetoric what will happen, I think, immediately here is there will be some kind of a freeze. But the most important thing to take from the president's statement yesterday, I think, is that the status of a lot of these things are under review. And in Washington, review is usually code for we're going to take a step back and take a more nuanced look at this. So I think what's going to end up happening is you're going to have some immediate action by the president on a temporary basis, but that they will take a much closer look and a much more case-by-case look going forward at a variety of different cases. And I think also it's worth mentioning that I'm sure the Afghan community in the United States, particularly those who came here since 2021, feel very much a threat this morning. And I'm sorry about that. And at the same time, I think what will end up happening is that what will be found is that the vast majority of people who have come here, whether from Afghanistan or other countries, have done so legally under proper process. Let's not also forget that Congress is heavily involved in this, and Congress has the ultimate authority over immigration policy. So I expect some coordination with Congress as well.
Is there a sense here, with regards to the immigration policy, it's one thing to say we're pausing any sort of new entry of folks, but you mentioned obviously the Afghan community here, and we've seen with at least past immigration policy positions by this president this year that sometimes those things fanned out, not just so much to the people coming into this country, but people who are already here. Do you think we are going to see, I guess, an additional sort of level of deportations because of the issues that transpired over the last couple of days?
I think as a practical matter, that's unlikely, Romaine. You've got to say a couple of things. First, let's remember that the administration already makes much out of the fact that illegal immigration into this country is basically stopped. So there's not much more to do there on that front. So what needs to happen now is they need to kind of cull, parse, understand better who's in the country and who might be a threat. What's been found very generally from a lot of these immigration sweeps is that the vast majority of these people have not had criminal records, have not had not be seen as a threat of any kind. If that's any indication of what they're going to find from these reviews, I think the vast majority of people who have come here are going to be okay.
Yeah. Terry,
it'll take a while.
Yeah, briefly, we know that he sharply reduced the refugee admissions cap. We understand that there's been a focus on migrants from several significant countries. But the H-1B visas as well, just briefly, how much is this impacting the economy more broadly, do you think?
I think it has some impact, sure. Largely because, Caroline, what ends up happening is just like in any other sector or industry, companies that have been comfortable with the existing system now find themselves jolted. And in a situation like H-1B, where they're relying on these highly skilled folks to come in, these specialists, if you will, that provides a particularly larger jolt. So you've got a situation where all of a sudden, not only can't you rely on a talent pool that you might have been able to rely upon a year ago, for example, but you got a situation where you've really got to scramble to figure out exactly how you're going to manage your business going forward.